Good morning, welcome to the Bath Studio School. This programme is brought to you by students and also made by students. We are here today with our student studio audience, are here ready at the line with many interesting questions. Today we're joined by Wera Hobhouse, Member of Parliament for Bath and North East Somerset and also member of the Liberal Democrats Party. Ms Hobhouse won the Bath and North East Somerset seat by a majority of 5,694 votes. Good morning, Ms Hobhouse, and welcome to the Bath Studio School.
Just a quick correction. I'm the MP for Bath. I'm the MP for North East Somerset. The MP for North East Somerset is Jacob Rees-Mogg. Wera Hobhouse, MP for Bath.
So we'll get right into our questions today. So tell me about yourself.
I am now the MP for Bath. I was elected in June 2017. I have done a lot of local politics, not in Bath itself. I lived in the north of England near Manchester, where we brought up our 4 children. They are all in their 20s now, 2 girls and 2 boys. I trained as an artist, so I'm a painter by profession, but women of my generation go through many different jobs in order to bring together a career and bringing up their families, and the young people in this room will probably recognize that mothers don't have it often very easy in following a career through.
So how did your political journey begin as to becoming a Member of Parliament?
I became interested in politics when I was 16, when I was still at school. Even in those days, long ago, last century, I felt it was very important that actually, as a young person, you get engaged in your community in politics, because politics and democracy doesn't work if we stay at home. So I got involved in an independent group. I did a lot of student politics. I did my studies in Berlin, and then I met my English husband. I came to this country. We had our children in the 1990s, and then in 2004, as it often happens, there was an election, a local election to become a local councillor. I was asked whether I wanted to stand, and I said, yes, why not? So I started to get involved in politics again in this country by becoming a local councillor.
And did you always want to become a Member of Parliament?
No. It hadn't crossed my mind, particularly because I'm not originally from this country. I'm from Germany, so I'm a European migrant. And it takes you some time to get under the skin of a country anyway. So local politics got me back into politics and into politics of this country. And of course, countries do politics in a different way. So having the ambition to become a Member of Parliament, particularly as a Liberal Democrat, where we don't have safe seats, we really have to fight hard. It wasn't something that I set out to do, but very quickly the party wanted me to have higher ambitions, and because we want more women in Parliament, that became very much an ambition for the party itself. And for us as a family as well. My husband is interested in politics as well. He originally wanted to become a Member of Parliament, and he stood back and said, no, we need more women in Parliament. So he deliberately actually sort of put my ambition in front of his ambition, which is, I think, the way to go.
And how was your first year? Well, it's coming up to almost a year now since all the election. And how was your first year, first few months being as a Member of Parliament?
So the local thing, to represent my communities and go to a lot of events like here and meeting schools and being involved in education and being a governor of a school. In this case, I'm a trustee now of an academy trust. That sort of bit of my new role was quite natural to me because I'd done it for 10 years. But all the stuff that happens in Westminster and Parliament, that is quite new. And a lot of it is quite interesting, quirky. Some of it is incomprehensible, but it's the way this country has run its political and democratic processes, and you need to get used to it. And it's quite fun. I quite enjoy it.
What differences would you like to make to Bath for young people?
For young people particularly? Well, I believe compared to my generation, young people really get a relatively tough deal. I think it is important for all of you to develop your full potential. I mean, this is a sort of big general statement, but I think particularly under the financial pressures that young people are these days, in order to find affordable homes, in order to find a good job, you are now competing internationally, while my generation competed more on a local level. So it is about this old word of empowering, making sure that you get a good qualification. I was a teacher for a while, so I know how important it is to get a good qualification, but to make sure that we as a community here in Bath understand the needs of everybody, and the problem with Bath as being a wealthy city as a whole, and to make sure that we actually look out for all of us, for everybody, including those who don't have such an easy and advantageous and privileged start in life. And that is my biggest focus. We do have, even in Bath, people who are getting a much tougher deal than others, and we need to look out for each other.
As you may be aware, at our school, we have a deprivation index of 52%, which means a lot of our students are classed as living in or very close to poverty. What are your plans to address this?
Well, I think the main thing is to point it out and talk about it. So my plans to address this is particularly in Parliament. I believe we currently have a government that is not very open to arguments about deprivation and how we address it. It's all about get on your bike and then you'll be fine, rather than appreciating that actually when you have a tougher start in life, it will be a lot more difficult to work your way up to the top. I'm currentE a member of an APPG, that is an all-party parliamentary group on what is called ACE, Adverse Childhood Experiences, and there is a lot of evidence gathered that when young people have suffered trauma or disadvantage early in life, it follows them around through their lives. The recognition of that and the fact that we need to put extra resources into those families is very much on my agenda.
And what are you going to address? What are you going to do to address the massive disparity in Bath between the rich and the poor?
Well, one of the biggest issues we have in Bath is housing, and more and more families are being priced out of a good place to live. Many families here can't actually afford to buy a house, let alone rent a property that is of a good standard here in the city of Bath. So I believe we need to build a lot more social housing. I believe that is at the bottom of what we need to provide as a society. And again, I'm a little bit up against the wall. This government is currently dismantling social housing provision. We are losing every year more and more social housing. In 2016, 12,600 homes were lost to right to buy. That is a scheme that is popular with families, but unless we replace them, and in the same period we only rebuild 5,000 new homes for social rent, if we don't address that at the bottom, that we have got a good provision of social housing, then I don't think we address the housing crisis, and that is also one of the big issues for families here in Bath.
So moving on from helping out young people finance-wise, would you support Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn to reduce university fees in the UK?
Well, the verbal support for all these sort of things is always great. The Labour leader has actually gone back on his promise since the election and said it is an ambition. An ambition is something different from actually I'm going to deliver that because I'm going to put the money behind it. Jeremy Corbyn would have to explain what money he's going to take away from another service in order to put it back into university tuition. He hasn't really come forward with that. As a party, as the Liberal Democrats, we haven't made that pledge because we believe we need to actually address the whole of how we fund education in a different way. Vince Cable has come forward with a very good idea about a lifelong learning fund where everybody can actually have access to a fund of money, whether you're 18 or whether you're 16, whether you're 50, to access money that you can use throughout your life for lifelong learning. And I think that is much more a way forward. Not everybody wants to go to university. Further education is just as important. I think the only looking at university education and how we fund that would be a mistake. Only 50% of our young people go to universities.
And obviously in recent years there's been a massive rise in mental health among young people, well, everyone in fact, in the UK in general. How are you challenging the government in relation to improving mental health services for young people?
Everything's about funding. We are currently living under a government that is hell-bent on saving money in order to reduce the deficit. If we don't fund properly anything, then it won't happen. So the government keeps putting out wonderful statements about what they want to do, but if they don't put their money where their mouth is, nothing will happen. So to pressure government continuously in Parliament for actually putting funding behind mental health services, particularly for young people, continues to be a big priority.
And what big changes would you like to make for Bath as a whole?
Well, we need to address particularly transport and pollution. There's going to be a consultation coming out in the next few weeks, and I hope everybody gets involved in actually contributing to that, because Bath is a very polluted city. We need to bring air pollution down, and that's mainly produced by cars. The council is consulting on the minimum of what we can do currently, or should be doing, in order to bring it's basically nitrogen dioxide levels down to legal levels. But actually, I think we should look at this in a much more ambitious way and think, what can we actually do to reduce car traffic across the board, not just for a very small target, and make Bath a city that is as car-free as possible. And that involves some behavior change. We all need to look at how we travel. I'm a motorist, I drive, but I also have a bike. We all need to think about how we can reduce our car travel. And if we could achieve a car-free city centre, that for me would be a great way forward. And to see young people actually not being taken to school by their mums and dads in their cars, but actually making their independent way to school, either by walking or cycling or going on a bus that is actually affordable, that would be a big ambition of mine.
Okay, and obviously a big thing coming up for the whole country is, but we want to know how it particularly affects Bath. How do you think Brexit will affect Bath, whether positives or negatives?
Well, I'm a well-known anti-Brexit campaigner. I think Brexit for the whole country will be a big mistake. I don't believe it's going to be the absolute crash down the bottom, and we are going to sort of being this catastrophic country that some people might have said we are. But I do believe in a long-term decline of this country. And I think that would be particularly tragic for young people like you, because when you look at countries that are doing not well economically, like Greece or Spain in the past, young people just leave the country. They go somewhere else. And if you've got a good education, you can. But do we want to be a country where we have sort of started to say, oh, we don't want immigration, we don't want to do this, people. And in the end, we end up with a country where our young people don't want to be any longer. I think that is the biggest danger that we are facing, and you guys should all fight it.
And obviously next month we have the local elections coming up. What would you say to people in Bath to get them voting in it?
We do not have local elections in Bath. We do have local elections next year in May, so go out and vote and look at the parties quite carefully. And you're of an age where you can make decisions. Unfortunately, we don't have the vote at 16 yet, but again, I'm fighting very hard in Parliament to make that happen. Because I do believe people of your age start having a stake in society, and why shouldn't you be able to vote? Anyway, if you're not 18, you cannot vote. But look at the parties and what they have to offer, particularly at local level, and do your homework. And parties do offer very different things. And of course, my party, I would say, because we are committed to local government, we are particularly good at local government. We believe in local democracy, local services for local people, delivered locally. Those are our sort of our big themes. Having a transparent council, knowing where decisions are made and why they're made, and what party is going to offer that, to sort of make sure that you know where actually the money is coming from, why a decision is being made. We are always for open and transparent government, be that at local level, be that at national level. That's what we are standing for, and we are always the people who deliver things on the ground.
Okay, I believe we have a few questions from our audience now. So can we have our first question, please?
So with the recent introduction of the sugar tax, do you think that companies will exploit the price to, and if they do, what will be done about it?
So sugar is the one of our biggest threats to our public health. Companies have sort of secretly or silently increased sugar levels because we all like sweet things, particularly young children. Starts as babies actually, because mother's milk is a little bit sweet. So whenever you're a mum, the easiest to calm down your young kid is by giving her or him something sweet. And if you silently increase sugar levels, you don't even notice it. So we need to get away from our sugar addiction. How you're going to do that? I think the companies who are putting these sugar levels up should be held responsible, and I think it's a step in the right direction. But like everything, it's ultimately we are the consumers. If we are saying, actually, I don't like sweet things, not when they're that sweet, is a very important thing that we need to recognize, and you can make that choice and say, ugh, this is too sweet, I don't want to buy it. Don't buy it.
Okay, can we have our next question, please?
some aspects of this question have already been answered, but I'll ask you anyway. I'm sure you agree that the homeless...
Say that again, what was it?
Some aspects of this question have already been answered, so I apologise for the repetition, but I'll ask you anyway. I'm sure you agree that the homeless epidemic in Bath is absolutely awful, and I understand that it's very difficult to have the necessary funding to solve the issue, or at least improve the situation. However, I'd like to ask you about the affordable houses being built in Bath and the surrounding area. I use the word affordable loosely, because due to the fact that my neighbours who are married with 2 children, the mother is a midwife and the father is a banker, aren't even eligible to inquire or put in a deposit for the new houses in Foxhill. Why is this? This isn't a single case. There's the Spring Wharf estate, which also dubs itself as having affordable homes, and 400 homes that are being planned for construction at the top of Arddown on greenbelt land of all things. The companies and the government argue that it will give young people a chance to buy their new homes, but this isn't true. My main question is, these decisions were made during the Conservative constituency, and will you do anything to change it?
So at the bottom of it, as you have already identified, I've sort of answered that question. We need more social housing, because unless we have a good solid stock of social housing where people can rent at an affordable rent, because it's not set by the private sector, that's what needs to change. So campaigning for more social housing, and I'm on it, trust me. Not that it is easy, because when you're in opposition, you don't make the decision. You can just only ever point out where it goes wrong. What I find particularly dishonest of the current government is they only ever talk about affordable housing. They never talk about social housing, because the private sector will not deliver social housing. Social housing is a public good. We need it. It needs to be provided by the state. The private sector wants to make money. And in fact, the Federal House Building Association has said on radio only a few weeks ago, we are here to make a profit. In order to have a good stock of social housing, we need to get away from that. Everything needs to make a profit. Something needs to just be a social good. And unless we've got a state that provides that, and unless we believe in good state services, public services, we will not solve anything in this country, including the housing crisis, including homelessness.
Could we have our next question, please?
What does being an MP feel like, and what do you like about being an MP?
What I like about being an MP is to meet a lot of people. I meet a lot of interesting people, and I think if you don't like people, if they sort of scare you, or if you don't want to have the discussions with them, and I like to discuss things. I don't know everything. I'm now 58. I still have a lot to learn. I learn on a daily basis. I like to learn by talking to people and hearing their opinions and arguing my case, and then having somebody else argue it. That's what you do as an MP, and I enjoy that.
Yeah, okay. Could we have our next question, please?
Again, sorry for the repetition, but obviously you know the voting age at the moment is 18, and what do you think about bringing it actually down to 16?
I'm on your side. I've been debating it in Parliament, and the bizarre thing is the people who are against it, mainly Conservative MPs, they come up with arguments that were put forward when women wanted the vote. Yeah, so you don't have the mental capacity. They almost put it out as if it was a mental health, as if it was a health hazard. Yeah, they said, you can only buy alcohol when you're 18. What does that have to do with the voting age? So yes, I'm on your side. Yes, we'll get there. MP apparently stands for most persistent. So everything in politics takes time, but I'd say to anybody who's interested in politics or wants change, keep at it, don't give up.
Okay. Any more questions at all from the audience? I believe that's all we have time for today. Thank you very much for coming in, and thank you for answering our questions. That's all we have time for today, and we hope to see you again soon.